One of the most dangerous habits we develop as adults is dismissing subtle discomfort as normal. We normalize exhaustion. We normalize brain fog. We normalize low mood. But here's the truth. The body does not malfunction without warning. It communicates long before it collapses. Your body speaks in whispers before it screams. A slight dip in energy isn't random. Difficulty concentrating isn't laziness. That tension in your shoulders isn't just a long day. These are signals, intelligent, adaptive feedback mechanisms designed to protect you. The body is not your enemy. It is a highly sophisticated survival system constantly adjusting, compensating, and alerting you when something is out of balance. The problem is not that the signals aren't there. The problem is that we override them. We override fatigue with caffeine. We override stress with distraction. We override poor sleep with stubborn productivity. Philosophically, this reflects a deeper cultural issue. We value output over awareness. We've been conditioned to treat our bodies like machines rather than living systems. But biologically speaking, suppression is not resolution. When you ignore a whisper, the body increases the volume. What begins as mild tension becomes chronic pain. What starts as manageable stress becomes anxiety or burnout. Psychologically, ignoring early signals also weakens self-trust. Every time you dismiss your body's message, you subtly teach yourself that your internal experience doesn't matter. Over time, that disconnection grows. And disconnection is often the root of both physical illness and emotional instability. Think about it this way. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for safety and balance. When it detects imbalance, nutritional deficiency, lack of rest, emotional overload, it sends signals. These signals are not inconveniences. They are protective alarms. Pain, fatigue, irritability. They are requests for adjustment. The most intelligent response is not panic. It is curiosity. Instead of asking, "How do I silence this?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" When you shift from suppression to awareness, you move from reaction to responsibility. You reclaim authority over your health. Because the truth is simple and powerful, if you learn to listen to the whisper, you will never have to hear the scream. Let's talk about the first major signal many people ignore: constant fatigue. I'm not referring to the normal tiredness you feel after a productive day. I'm talking about waking up exhausted, needing caffeine just to feel functional, dragging yourself through simple tasks that once felt effortless. When fatigue becomes your baseline, that is not normal. That is information. Energy is not just a physical resource. It is a reflection of how well your internal systems are functioning. Your brain, hormones, immune system, and metabolism are in constant dialogue. When something is out of alignment, chronic stress, poor sleep quality, blood sugar instability, nutrient deficiencies, emotional overload, fatigue is often the first signal that surfaces. Psychologically, we tend to moralize tiredness. We label ourselves as lazy or undisciplined. But fatigue is rarely a character flaw. More often, it is a physiological negotiation. Your body is reallocating resources toward survival rather than performance. Consider stress. When you live in a prolonged state of pressure, your nervous system shifts into a protective mode. Stress hormones like cortisol rise to keep you alert in the short term. But over time, that same system becomes dysregulated. Sleep becomes shallow. Recovery declines. Motivation drops. The body cannot sustain constant activation without consequence. There is also a philosophical layer here. In a culture that glorifies busyness, exhaustion is often worn as a badge of honor. "I'm tired" becomes synonymous with "I'm important." But exhaustion is not evidence of productivity. It is evidence of imbalance. Constant fatigue may also signal deeper physiological concerns: anemia, thyroid dysfunction, chronic inflammation, or even unprocessed emotional strain. The mind and body are not separate entities. Emotional burdens consume biological energy. Rumination, unresolved conflict, and internal pressure quietly drain your reserves. Instead of overriding fatigue with stimulants, ask a more intelligent question. What is my body trying to conserve? What is it lacking? Sleep, nutrients, boundaries, recovery? When you treat fatigue as a messenger rather than an obstacle, you move from self-criticism to self-inquiry. That shift alone changes everything, because sustained energy is not created by pushing harder, it is created by restoring balance. If you are constantly tired, don't ignore it. Fatigue is not weakness. It is your body asking you to protect your life force before it is depleted beyond repair. Now let's move into the second signal that people routinely dismiss: pain and recurring physical discomfort. Pain is not random. It is not a design flaw. It is a protective mechanism. From a biological standpoint, pain exists to capture your attention. It forces awareness. And yet, culturally, we've trained ourselves to silence it as quickly as possible. A headache becomes a pill. Back pain becomes bad posture. Digestive discomfort becomes something I ate. But when symptoms repeat, they are no longer accidents. They are patterns. The body keeps score. Prolonged stress tightens muscles. Emotional suppression alters breathing patterns. Chronic inflammation disrupts digestion. Even subtle habits: sitting for hours, shallow breathing, unresolved anxiety, accumulate over time. The result is discomfort that seems physical on the surface, but often has deeper roots. There is also a psychological dimension to pain that we rarely acknowledge. When you consistently override discomfort, you reinforce a mindset of disconnection. You tell yourself that output matters more than well-being. Over time, this erodes your sensitivity, not just to physical signals, but to emotional ones as well. And here's something important. Pain is often proportional to how long a signal has been ignored. The body escalates when it is unheard. Mild stiffness becomes chronic tension. Occasional stomach upset becomes persistent digestive distress. Temporary stress becomes migraines. This doesn't mean every ache is catastrophic. It means every recurring ache deserves curiosity. Instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this quickly?" ask, "Why is this here?" Pain can point to lifestyle imbalances, inadequate movement, poor recovery, dehydration, inflammatory diets. It can also signal something that requires medical evaluation. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. It delays clarity. Philosophically, pain is one of the most honest forms of feedback we receive. It cannot flatter you. It cannot lie. It simply tells the truth about strain, overload, or injury. And the mature response to truth is not avoidance. It is responsibility. When you respond to discomfort early through better movement, stress management, medical consultation, or lifestyle correction, you prevent escalation. You convert crisis into course correction. Pain is not your enemy. It is a signal flare. And if you respect the signal, you protect the system. The third signal we often overlook is more subtle, but just as powerful: emotional changes. Sudden irritability, persistent anxiety, brain fog, a lack of motivation that feels heavier than simple tiredness. Many people treat these as personality flaws or temporary mood swings. But emotional shifts are not isolated from the body. They are biological events. Your thoughts and feelings are influenced by chemistry, hormones, neurotransmitters, blood sugar stability, sleep quality, inflammatory markers. When your internal environment is imbalanced, your emotional landscape changes with it. This is not weakness. It is physiology. It is physiology. For example, chronic stress elevates cortisol. Elevated cortisol disrupts sleep. Poor sleep alters emotional regulation. Suddenly, small inconveniences feel overwhelming. You become reactive instead of measured. What appears to be a short temper may actually be a dysregulated nervous system asking for recovery. There is also a philosophical dimension here. Modern culture often separates mental health from physical health as if they operate independently. But the brain is part of the body. Emotional instability is frequently a signal that something systemic needs attention. Rest, nourishment, boundaries, unresolved tension. Brain fog, for instance, can reflect sleep deprivation, dehydration, nutrient imbalance, or chronic overstimulation from digital overload. Anxiety may intensify when the body is under-recovered. Low mood can correlate with inflammation, sedentary habits, or prolonged isolation. Yet instead of investigating, many people internalize blame. I'm just not disciplined. I'm too sensitive. That narrative deepens the problem. Because when you criticize yourself for biological signals, you compound stress. The more intelligent approach is necregration. When your mood shifts, ask practical questions. How have I been sleeping? What have I been eating? How much sunlight, movement, and genuine rest have I had? Am I carrying stress I haven't processed? This is not about overanalyzing every emotion. It is about recognizing patterns. If irritability, anxiety, or low motivation become consistent, they are not random personality traits. They are feedback. Emotional awareness is a form of physiological intelligence. When you respond early, by restoring sleep, adjusting habits, seeking support when necessary, you stabilize both mind and body. You prevent minor dysregulation from evolving into chronic mental strain. Your emotions are not inconveniences. They are indicators. Listen closely, because the state of your mind often reveals the state of your body long before tests do. And if you learn to respect that connection, you don't just improve your health, you reclaim control over your life.